Ms. Tuttle?
Thank you, Your Honor. We are present this morning in the case of the State of Ohio versus Jonathan Williams, case 26-CR782. The defendant is present, represented by counsel, attorney Dan Williams. We're here today for the purposes of a sentencing hearing. On June 16th, the defendant pled guilty to a one-count information, that being theft, a felony of the 4th degree. A pre-sentence report and victim impact statement have been completed. The parties have had the opportunity to view that pre-sentence report and are prepared to proceed with sentencing today. There is a joint recommendation for community control sanctions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. As was indicated at the time of this plea, a joint recommendation of community control was made to the court so long as Mr. Williams continued to abide by the terms and conditions of his bond. To date, he has done just that. A number of documents have been submitted to the court in advance of the sentencing hearing, including the sentencing memorandum of the defendant, a number of letters of support on behalf of Mr. Williams, as well as the pre-sentence report and investigation. We'd ask that those be incorporated into the record at this time, Your Honor. Your Honor, when viewing the principles and purposes of felony sentencing, it is our position that a non-residential community control sanction would be sufficient in this instance to both punish Mr. Williams without imposing any unnecessary burden on any state or local resources. As the court is aware, Mr. Williams has no prior criminal history of any kind. This was quite frankly a crime of opportunity that was brought about by mounting debt that Mr. Williams felt he could no longer manage, and we feel this occurred in certain circumstances that are unlikely to happen again. I don't think there's any question that he's genuinely remorseful for his conduct, as evidenced by his admission to his employer and also to the police. He understands completely that he violated the position of trust that he was put in, and the detriment that this has caused Mr. Gidley's business. He's asking the court not to view him or his character in the narrow lens of this particular conduct, but to reflect on a lifetime of good deeds and service to others. Mr. Williams is a well-regarded member of both his community and the church. I think the letters of support that you've received reflect a man who has lived the vast majority of his life in service to other people. Understandably, it's hard to reconcile the person that's been described in those letters with the person who committed the conduct that occurred here, but that is what we're asking the court to do. Those that trust and know Mr. Williams best believe he's fully capable of redemption, and that's what we are asking this court today, is to put him in the best position, put him on the best path forward to achieve that redemption, which most importantly is going to include making Mr. Gidley whole again. Mr. Williams is gainfully employed. He's always maintained steady employment throughout his life. The only position he's going to be in order to make restitution in this case is if he continued to work. We feel that a non-residential community control sanction, which would include an extensive period of house arrest or other non-residential sanctions, would put him in the best position in order to make the victim whole in this case, Your Honor. So we'd ask to take all these things into consideration. Mr. Williams would like to address the court, and we have two others that are here with him today, his wife Kylie Williams and Pastor Ken Wright, who would also like to address the court.
Well, what order do you want to go in?
We'll have Mr. Williams proceed first.
Mr. Williams, what do you want to tell me before I impose sentence?
Thank you, Your Honor, for allowing me to speak. First, I want to say to Brian and the entire LBL family that I'm truly sorry for my poor choices and everything that you've had to go through over the last few years due to my selfishness. I humbly and genuinely ask you for your forgiveness. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Your Honor, with a contrite heart, I am deeply sorry for my actions. I know that what I've done is wrong and unacceptable. There's no excuse for my actions, but I know the question remains, why did I do it? There are a few reasons I did what I did. I had accumulated debt throughout the years, and we were trying to purchase our first home. We weren't able to get a loan without first improving my credit score and paying down some of the debt. With all of the other bills still going on and my kids growing up and needing things for school and sports, I felt helpless. So I started depositing cash from my job into my personal account to stay on top of bills and to pay down debt in order to get approved for a home for my family, believing that I would pay it back. This is an insane way of thinking, and I'm embarrassed to even say it out loud. From the time I was a very young child, I've worked very hard to provide for my family. My first job was when I was 10 years old, where I would give money to my mother to help buy groceries for my sister and me. I've worked and served every community I've been a part of since. It's hard to believe that just a few years ago, I was walking the hallways of the West Wing in the White House, working in the Trump administration, and now I'm standing before you today, asking for mercy to be extended for the wrong I have done. Living under the weight of my choices the last 2 years have been very eye-opening and yet very challenging. I've realized that I can't always do things on my own. I can't just figure things out. I've learned that I need help when times get tough and not to lean on my own understanding or to take matters into my own hands. I know there are consequences for my actions. I try to teach my kids this every day. Every day that I get to either drop them off at school or text them, I tell them 4 things. 1, I love them. 2, be a good leader, make good choices, and treat people the way you want to be treated. I failed at my advice to my children, but I pray that they will learn from my mistakes. Today, as I stand before you, I know the possibilities of my sentence, but I'm asking you to show me mercy. I'm asking that you give me a second chance at life and that I won't be separated from my kids and family. I now have multiple jobs that I'm working in, including bus driving, providing tech support online for ministry in Arizona, freelance photography, music director at my church, driving for Amazon, and picking up extra shifts. I need to work to provide for my family and also to offer restitution to those I've hurt. My goal in life is always to give more than I receive. Thank you for considering my request and hearing my heart.
When did you start taking this money?
I don't remember the exact date. It was probably in August or September 23.
How long had you been working there by that point in time?
So I had been working for the company, I think, for over a year in various capacities. I started as a cashier, retail cashier in the Chardon location, and moved to the Middlefield location and kind of worked my way up as a manager. And then when the person that was in my position before had resigned, Brian had asked me to take over that since I had a little bit of experience with QuickBooks. But it was just, I got that position because I worked hard and I was committed to helping the company. And so I think I was there for a little over a year before I went to this position.
And how long were you in the position before you started to steal?
Don't know the exact, but it was probably three or 4 months.
What prompted you to make that decision?
I don't know, Your Honor. It was trying to buy a house and not having the resources, and that's really the only thing that we've wanted to do is purchase a home, and having that there with no oversight. I don't know why I thought that I could take it and then put it back, but that was my thinking.
Okay. So take me through the mechanics of how you manipulated the records such that it went undetected for a substantial period of time.
So the way that the system works is when there's a sale on the store end, the way that it got set up was there was a middle software, you know how to explain, software that connects the two together, and you decide what transactions come through to the QuickBooks. And so when I had started to take that money, I knew that if I didn't select certain transactions, then they wouldn't come through to the QuickBooks side of it.
So was that always cash?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was the rough percentage between cash and non-cash that came in?
I don't know that number. There was way more checks and credit cards daily than we had cash.
Okay. So how often were you taking the cash?
I'm not sure. It was just whenever I got really low on our personal. So if I were to give an amount, maybe once or twice a month.
And over what period of time once this started?
Maybe 8 months, 6 months, 8 months.
Okay. How much did you take?
So the report says 53,000. Was it 53? 50. The report says 58,000.
$257.21.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can't argue with that number because we didn't do our own audit, but it seems like a lot, especially with our lifestyle of living. But I'm not going to argue that that number.
Well, I'm not asking you to argue. I'm asking you, you're the one that was there.
Yes, sir.
You're the one that knows what you took, when you took it, how
Yes, sir.
much you took, how often you took.
Yes, sir.
So you tell me what you think the accurate amount is that you took.
When I originally confessed it to Brian, I did not think that it was more than $10,000 to $12,000
Okay.
because of that time frame, and what we used in our personal. So that's what I originally thought, and then when that number came back, I was just floored that it was that amount of money in that amount of time.
And what was your plan to pay it back? You said that you took it with the intent of paying it back. How were you going to do, how were you going to manipulate QuickBooks? What was your plan to manipulate QuickBooks to put that money back?
I don't think I had a plan.
Why not?
I don't know, sir.
Was there a time when you were not paying sales tax or other taxes to the state of Ohio that were supposed to be forwarded?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When did that start? Around the same time frame?
I don't remember. I know that I had an issue with it before all of this started, because of my lack of understanding of how to do the work. And so it was an ongoing thing with the sales tax.
What notification did you get from the Department of Taxation that the business was delinquent in their tax return?
I received a letter.
The letter came to you,
Yes, sir.
and when you got the letter, what action did you take?
I began to try to figure out again how to calculate those taxes for the company,
Okay.
because I'm the only one that's doing that.
All right. Did you talk to Mr. Gidley about that?
Not directly. We did have a couple conversations about taxes, but when it got delinquent, I did not talk to him about it. I tried to figure it out myself.
Why didn't you talk to him about it?
I was just afraid.
Afraid of what? Afraid of being discovered?
No, sir. I was afraid of losing my job or for not being able to do my job in that sense.
All right. Well, what communication did you then have with the Department of Taxation about these issues?
They told me I had a certain amount of time to get the money in, and so I started to work on how to get that in, and then they said that I couldn't do. Normally it's by check, I think it was, but I couldn't do a business check. I had to do a cashier's check.
Okay. And what was it a installment payment or was it full payment? What was it? What did they demand?
I can't remember. I think that by a certain time, because it's been a couple years ago, by a certain time I had to have a certain amount paid to keep the sales tax, not certificate, the sales tax license active.
Okay. And what efforts did you take to make those payments to the Department of Taxation?
I started to make sure that we could have money in the bank account to do the cashier's check. And so I got a cashier's check and I mailed it to them. So that's what I did with that.
Okay. At some point it stopped, right? Those payments stopped.
Only after I was finished with the job. I don't know what happened after I finished with the job.
Because the red tag got slapped on the door, said you're closed because you don't pay your taxes. Were you gone by that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when did you leave that job?
Was it May 24, I think?
So suffice it to say, Mr. Gidley had no knowledge of this delinquency when you left, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I don't know if it was when I left. He did mention to me that he saw the check that was sent to the tax people. So I can't remember if that was as I was leaving or afterwards.
And the consequences of that aspect of the Department of Taxation slapping that bright piece of paper on the door was devastating to that business, wasn't it?
I would assume so, sir.
Well, clearly, right? You guys are closed because you don't pay your taxes. So I guess the question is, why would a customer ever come back there again? If, first of all, the store is closed. And second of all, they're determined to be a tax scofflaw. Why would anybody come back there? So here's the thing that puzzles me from listening to you, to your wife, and to the pastor, is that you present you've presented a very conscious effort to say how you've spent many, many years helping others, volunteering for others, doing good in your church and in your family, and you're robbing this guy blind. How does that get squared? How does one compartmentalize their life so that they live two completely different lives? Explain that to me.
I can't, sir. Sorry. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, you had a lot of time to think about this,
Yes.
so you should have an explanation. I mean, there are alternate explanations. Okay? One of them could be maybe you've been conning the pastor all this time. Maybe you've been conning your church all this time. That's one reasonable explanation. The problem is your request to me is to have mercy or lenience toward you for your actions, when you showed no mercy or lenience toward Mr. Gidley's company. See, taking responsibility is a nice phrase that's often used in this place. And most people really, they like to say it, and very few often mean it. Because people like to say they take responsibility when they plead guilty, and then when I sentence them, they don't like the sentence, so that tells me they're really not taking responsibility for their actions. So, do you have any any understanding on how you have wrecked a company that started from nothing 50 years ago? Do you have any? Can you even grasp what you did? All in the space of a year, a couple of years, whatever it was, all in the space of a year or two, it took to destroy what took 50 years to build up from nothing. Now, the effects are obvious. They should be obvious to everybody. Okay. But I've gotten a little bit more of a flavor of it with some details that I was provided through the victim impact statement. But these folks, Mr. Gidley's parents, start this thing from nothing, build it, continue to build it, turn it over to their son. Throughout that process, they employ some people, and then more people, and then more people, 3 locations, and boom, gone. And it's gone because of your selfishness. And it doesn't matter, certainly doesn't matter to me, your explanation for the selfishness. Because it's presented in the light of, I was trying to provide for my family. We came into this job over our heads, and it just got worse. That's It's an explanation. It's inconsequential as far as I'm concerned. Because you have brought misery upon these folks. So, one of the biggest questions is how are you going to pay that back? How is that going to happen?
Yeah. So what our hope is, our plan is when I start working next week, we're going to take at least $500 from our check in a month to put that towards restitution, as well as in a few months we'll pay off one of our cars that we've had for a while, and that $500 payment will also go, instead of going to pay the car, it will go directly to pay restitution. And so we're hoping from anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month to go towards paying it back. And I'll do as much work as I can to do extra work, weddings, political events, driving for Amazon Flex, everything. I'll work hard to financially pay it. I know that I can't restore what I've broken.
Two things within the last half hour lead me to question whether you really take responsibility for it. First, you're talking about you know the process by which that you implemented to steal their money. You know what the process was. Apparently, you were pretty good at it because it went undetected for a while. Okay. And so you know how much you took. You know the ballpark of what you took. It wasn't 5 or 10,000. Okay. So you seem to want to minimize the depth of your attack. Am I wrong or am I right?
Sir, I don't want to minimize. I don't want to minimize it at all.
I know maybe you don't want to, but you seem to be. Consciously, subconsciously, you're talking about a couple $100 once a month or twice a month. That don't add up.
Right. Don't
add up. Not even close to adding up.
Right.
And Mr. Gidley didn't come up with $58,271.21. A forensic audit by BCI came up with that number through the books, through the objective look at the books. So you seem to want to minimize this as to the amount. On the one hand, as Mr. Williams, your attorney, indicated, and the pastor indicated, and your wife indicated, and you indicated, you don't want this theft to define you, right? This isn't walking in a business on the spur of a moment and robbing a place. This is a thought-out, concerted effort, as Mr. Williams indicated, a theft, an opportunity that was presented to you, that you worked for quite a period of time before it all imploded. How much of that money did you pay back?
I haven't.
Right. I mean, when you were working there, your intent was to pay it back. So in the context of when you were working there, how much did you pay back?
I don't know how much. I know that I did put cash back. I don't know the amount, and it sounds stupid. I wasn't even tracking it. So I didn't think, looking at it now, it's like, how would you know how much exactly? But I did put cash back inside of that. There were small times where I would use my own credit card to pay for things for the business. But
how do you reflect that in the QuickBooks entries then?
I say that again.
How would you reflect that payback in QuickBooks? Because I assume, I don't know how QuickBooks works, okay? But I presume that software is to make it easier to track things. So you're not writing on ledgers all the time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, probably like they were in 1975, okay? I presume it's easier. So there's a way to track things. So what did you do with the system to record these paybacks or credit card payments?
So as far as the cash goes, so I've got a drawer full of cash, from days or whatever, and then when I run what's called an end of day, whatever cash I'm depositing into the bank, I take those transactions in that middle software, and that adds up to what goes into QuickBooks. So nothing comes into QuickBooks unless you tell it to from the center software. So does that make sense?
No, but it doesn't matter if it makes sense, because
Okay.
whatever's purchased,
It doesn't automatically go.
people are paying for.
Yes, sir.
So whatever is purchased for $25, there should be a corresponding payment of $25, right?
Yes, sir.
There's an indication of what was purchased, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you throw back another $50 because you're feeling bad that day in cash, what was the corresponding purchase?
So the thing is, when someone says $25 cash at the store, it doesn't go into QuickBooks unless that center software, it goes into that center software and it says $25. If I click that $25, then that goes into QuickBooks. Now that's recorded. So if I've got $100 that I'm going to deposit, then in that center software, I can click $100 cash, and it comes into QuickBooks, and it matches that $100 deposit.
Okay. How much do you figure you paid back?
I don't know, sir.
Ballpark for me how much you figure you, well, first of all, how often did you pay back?
Not very often.
Okay. A half a dozen times? A dozen times? 2 dozen times? What?
Maybe 6 times.
Okay. And when you paid back, how much generally were you paying back?
It was a small amount, maybe $100, $200 at a time.
Okay. Okay. See, I don't know that I believe you when you say that.
It's true, sir. I promise you.
Look, listen. I don't know. I'm just telling you that I don't believe that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, sir.
Ms. Tuttle?
Thank you, Your Honor. As I previously stated, there is a joint recommendation for a period of community control sanctions here based on the level of the offense and the fact that the defendant doesn't have any prior criminal history. It's difficult in situations like this where a defendant doesn't have anything prior in their past, but the offense that they committed is serious, it's severe, it's repeated, and it's continual, that we need to balance that lack of criminal history with the harm that he caused. The defendant was in a position of trust. As Mr. Gidley stated, he was trusted by this business, and he had access to funds. He caused serious emotional, mental, and economic harm to Mr. Gidley and everyone that worked for the company, everyone that trusted him. And because of that, and because of his calculated and intentional and repeated behavior over months, there's a punishment element here that certainly needs to be met. Because of that, the state is requesting that the defendant serve a period of local incarceration and that it be a substantial period, because his actions were substantial. The restitution amount here is $58,257.21. That's more than the defendant's yearly salary was working for this company. That's the amount of money that never made it to the bank. So if the defendant gave some money back or put some money back, that means that what he took originally was higher than that $58,000 number. I know that the defendant stated today that based on the lifestyle he lives, he doesn't think there was any way he took more than $10,000 to $12,000. The state provided his own bank records as part of discovery in this case. His own bank records showed that over that near 10-month period of time, he was going to his own bank, sometimes daily, and deposited over $36,000 in cash to his own account. That's what made it from his hands into his bank. There's $20,000 more in cash that never made it to the business account, and the defendant used for his own personal gain. Based on all of this, the state believes that a jail term is necessary to protect the public and others from this offender and to punish him for the crime that he committed. Thank you.
Thank you. I reviewed the pre-sentence report, the victim impact statement. I have listened to Mr. Williams, those who spoke on his behalf, Mr. Gidley. I've listened to the attorneys, and I have considered all the provisions in 29-2911, 29-2912, and 29-2913. There is no good resolution to this case. I could send you to prison for 18 months, and you can have a judgment for $58,257.21 that would leave Mr. Gidley chasing that money the rest of his life. I can put you on probation with the idea that you're going to pay back the restitution. Okay? Now, regardless whether I take Route 1 or Route 2, that will never make Mr. Gidley or that business whole. Even if you wrote a check, cashier's check for that full amount today, that doesn't put them in the position they were in. Nothing ever will. Nothing ever will, okay? And the problem here, Mr. Williams, is that you're a manipulator. Now, you certainly, from the time you went to work for Mr. Gidley, you were a manipulator because you manipulated him the entire time you lived there, or worked there, rather. Okay, the entire time. Little by little, you manipulated him, his family, in that business. And I mean, you shake your head no that you didn't. You did. Okay? Clearly you did. You found a way to get away with what you got away with to the tune of $58,000 for a substantial period of time. And then, when you were called on it by Mr. Gidley, your response was to go back to try to manipulate records retroactively. Okay? So the entire time you worked at that place of employment, you were a Class A manipulator. And as I sit here and listen to all this today, and particularly you're still manipulating. Because you talked about an amount that you didn't think was anywhere near that, but Ms. Tuttle just indicated there was an influx of $36,000 in cash to your bank account during this time period. Okay? So you know full well what you did, and you try to minimize it now. And that, sir, is not taking responsibility. That is trying to parse things, which means you're evading responsibility. Okay? So now, whether you were a manipulator before that, I don't have the slightest idea. Okay? My guess is you were. This wasn't a sudden behavior that you learned when you went to work for Mr. Gidley. Okay? So my guess is, to some degree and in some sense, you've been manipulating people for a good long time. So now the question is, what's the appropriate punishment? Okay. The only thing, the only possible thing, positive that you can do going forward for the benefit of Mr. Gidley and that business is to pay them back the money you stole. But like I said, that ain't the half of it. Okay, they're devastated for the remainder. And there's no way around that. Okay. And boy, it didn't take long for you to destroy what had been built up. And I don't know that you grasped that before you walked into it, or you grasp it now, or you'll ever grasp it. Okay. Because you and your wife and the pastor are focused on your redemption. I think Mr. Williams or somebody early on said that for me to give you the opportunity to redeem yourself. I ain't in the redemption business, okay? It's not my thing. Okay. So in consideration of everything, I'm going to accept the joint recommendation of council. I'm going to place you on community control for 5 years. You're going to serve 180 days in the Lake County Jail with credit for 2. Now, I am going to permit you work release, and the only reason I'm going to permit you work release is to pay them back, because they have to get paid back. It's the only justice they can get from this case, is to get paid back. You're going to have no drugs or alcohol, and you'll be screened regularly. You're to pay restitution in the amount of $58,257.21. $257.21 to the victim. And you're the one that suggested that you're going to pay it back of at least $500 a month currently, possibly up to $1,000. So in the immediate future, I'm going to order that it be at the rate of $500 a month, which I'm going to review, because you are going to do this by work release. But we will review that order. We'll review the amount of that order at a hearing that will take place on October 28th, and we will review it periodically to ensure that progress is being made. There's no realistic possibility, absent some unusual happening, that you're going to pay back $58,257.21 within 10 months. You'd have no contact with the victims, nor cause anybody to have any contact with them. All your dealings with restitution will be made through the probation department. You are to maintain throughout this period of community control full employment. You're going to pay the cost and supervision fees. Mr. Randazzo, any other terms you think are applicable?
Would your Honor like the mental health evaluation?
Yes.
Nothing further.
You are going to get the mental health evaluation and follow all recommendations. Mr. Williams, do you understand the terms of your community control?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about them?
No, sir.
If you violate, the state will file a motion to terminate your community control, and if it finds you violated, then you face potentially 18 months in prison. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else, Ms. Tuttle?
Your Honor, would you like me to put that next court date in the order?
Yes.
Okay, nothing else, thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Just as it relates to the work release, Your Honor, obviously Mr. Williams had indicated there are a number of jobs he's working. Would this be specifically to his primary
Well,
source of employment as a bus driver?
You're going to have to get me places of employment and times of employment, and the order will be fashioned in consideration of those things.
Okay.
All right.
All right.